And tonight we've got my big brother. Jeez, you got my big brother on the line, King. You don't know, brothers and sisters, your brother, my brother, the king himself, the scientist, Leon Marshall. Assalamu alaikum, King. Hotep, peace to the gods.
I'm too. Can you hear me loud and clear?
We can hear you so loud and clear, brother.
Yes,
We can hear
King.
you so loud. How you doing, soldier?
I'm good. Excited to be back on the platform. Looking forward to tonight. So, looking forward
We're
to.
excited for you, brother, because you know you are probably the longest collaborator we've worked with as Hidden Truth. So, you know, the love is there. It's bona fide. We've gone around the world. We've done events up and down. And brother, we're never ever tired seeing you coming onto this platform, brother, and sharing the God-given work that you've been blessed to do, brother. And as you heard about Lady Ma'at, we can't wait to see what direction, because you always think, you know, one thing they say, brother, you cannot calculate God. And you are a manifestation of that, brother. We think that maybe you may go one way and you shock the whole platform by going a totally different way. So tonight, brother, we're exactly on time. Your time allocation that we spoke about is given to you in full.
Yeah.
I'm going to shut my mouth, my king, and hand over to yourself. Brothers and sisters, please get your notebooks out. And this is our keynote speaker, co-founder of the Hidden Science Academy, Brother Leon Marshall.
All right, brother. When I'm sharing my screen,
Yes, sir.
I'm just trying to share sound as well.
Yes, sir.
And it's not giving me the option to share sound or optimize.
Give me 1 second, King. Let's get round this.
All right, so family.
Try now, King.
All right, let me try. Hold on. Come back in again. No, still not doing it.
Still not doing it?
Let me see if a video plays. Oh, hold on. There we go. Yeah. Nice.
Come on, my big brother, because we know that, brother, the devil's on your backside, King. The devil is truly on your backside.
All right, hold on 1 second, because I have to address that as well before we even start.
Come on. Break down the truth tonight, brother.
All right. So, family, we're going to be talking about how to decode deceptive language tonight. Yeah. So I've called it Unmasking Misinformation. Very important during the time you saw what Chef Kevin was saying, you saw what Lady Ma'at, Adele was saying, like this misinformation, understanding this misinformation is going to be of the utmost importance. Yeah. And tonight I'm going to be talking about the usual suspects. Now, for those of you who have been following the Hidden Science Academy, you're aware of the usual suspects. The usual suspects, they get up to their usual activities. So if anything happens tonight that shouldn't really happen, you should always blame the usual suspects. And I'm just going to put that out there from now. So with that being said, let me just start with this, because one thing you need to know about the usual suspects is they all follow a script.
Unfortunately, some members of the media
use their platforms to push their own personal bias, and agenda to control exactly what people think. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
All right. So one thing you need to know about the usual suspects, and we're going to talk about the usual suspects tonight, is they follow a script, and they usually give their script out to everyone. Everyone has to read off of their script. Yeah. All right, now, as this presentation will focus heavily on the science of misinformation, it makes sense to start with a definition of science that is easy to understand. So here's my definition. Science is logic backed up by evidence. This is my personal definition. The people that have been following me, you know, I come up with my own definitions. This is my definition of science. It's logic backed up by evidence. And when I say logic, I just mean common sense. Like, for example, if I was to ask you what's 2 + 2, I'm hoping that your logic, your common sense would say 4. Now, in order to make that a scientific fact, all you need to do is back it up with proof. And the easiest way to back it up is to show me. So if you said 2 + 2 = 4 and I said, prove it, Easiest way to prove it is to put two fingers on one hand, two fingers on the other hand, and then count them out loud. And there's the proof. Yeah. Now, when you start using my definition of science, you'll start to realize that science is simple. And I've been running with this ever since I started to realize what science really is. Yeah. Because when I was at university, I found science very confusing. I wonder why. But once I left school, college, and university, done my own research, went on a self-discovery journey, started to realize, raw, science is simple. Why do they teach it in such a confusing way? Why do they teach science in such a confusing way? Yeah. So I like to keep things super simple because a wise man once said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. Now, that was arguably the greatest scientist, I say arguably, the greatest scientist of all time, Albert Einstein. He said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. And I agree with him. I agree with this statement, but I'll take it one step further. I say, if someone's explaining something to you, especially if it's scientific, and they can't explain it simply, it means they don't understand the subject well enough. Or they do, they just don't want you to understand it. So they teach it to you in a confusing way, in a complex way, so you don't understand it. It's either one of the two. So throughout tonight's presentation, I'm going to keep things super simple. Because to me, science is just 2 plus 2. Or, as another wise man once said,
Boom. 2 plus 2 is 4. Minus 1, that's 3. Quick maths.
Quick maths. That's all we're going to be dealing with today. Quick maths. Yeah. And again, those people that have been following me and watched my lectures and come to my events and that sort of stuff, you know, I break down science in a very simplified way. But I'm curious, whose first time is it hearing me speak? I'm curious, if this is your first time watching or listening to a Leo Marshall presentation, put a 1 in the chat for me, please. Just put a 1 in the chat. If this is your first time, put a 1. Oh my days. For all the people that are putting 1s in the chat, I've got one thing to say to you.
You're going to learn today. You're going to learn today.
So what are you going to learn today? This is what we're going through. You're going to learn the importance of language. You're going to learn how important language is today. Yeah, the usual suspects, they use language to control us, yeah, or to control the masses. You're going to learn how to control a conversation. Very important. How to control a conversation. You're going to learn the two rules of thumb when it comes onto misinformation by the usual suspects. You're going to learn the 3 types of lies by the usual suspects. You're going to learn how deceptive language is used as a weapon. And I want to, at the end of this presentation, dismantle 3 false narratives. So I've put there, I'm going to cover 3 false narratives that must die today. They're going to die today. After today's presentation, those narratives are put to bed. We're not going with them ever again. Yeah? Plus much more, no typo. So let's get started. Now, many people find science very confusing. And I've found through my own observation that confusion will always lead to conflict. And that conflict leads to pain. And that pain is not always physical. That pain can be physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, psychological, or even social. But what I've found through my own observation is that anytime you're confused about anything, it's going to lead to conflict, which will lead to pain. Yeah. Take me, for example, when I was at school and I was learning science, I was learning biology, chemistry, physics. I found all of it very confusing. I was so confused. It led to mental conflict. I was thinking, am I dumb or something? Why don't I get this? Why is this so difficult to understand? Yeah. And that actually led to external conflict as well. So it's not just internal conflict, but it led to external conflict. I never used to get on with my science teachers. I used to get into it with my science teachers. I used to think they were chatting absolute foolishness, and I used to tell them. So I used to get in trouble. They'd send me to detention. I'd get in trouble with the headmaster and that sort of stuff. So that's external conflict as well. All of that led to pain. And again, pain is not always physical. Pain can be physical, mental, emotional, psychological, spiritual, or social. So in order for you to ensure that you learn something new, especially when it comes to science, you need total clarity. Because I have found through my own observation that clarity leads to harmony within and without. And that harmony leads to peace. And which one would you rather? Would you rather be in pain, or would you rather be in a state of peace? Yeah. So going forward, I'm going to hope to give you guys a lot of clarity today, a lot of clarity. And with that being said, we are going to be talking about misinformation. And this is just a disclaimer, I guess, but I'll put it out there anyway. Because we're going to be talking about misinformation, I'm going to be showing you examples of people talking, giving us misinformation. Now, just off the bat, I want you guys to understand that I am not anti-government. I am not anti-doctors. I am not an anti-vaxxer. I'm not anti-anything really. Like, I'm not anti-white people. I'm not anti-anything. If anything, the only thing I am anti is falsehood. I am anti-falsehood, anti-lies, because I know what those lead to. Those lead to total confusion. Yeah. If I'm pro anything, I'm pro-truth. I'm not pro-black. I'm not pro-Pan-African. I'm not. I'm being honest. I am pro-truth. Truth over everything. That's me. I'm just truth over everything. It just so happens that when I went on my self-discovery journey, trying to find out the truth, everything got black. When I went down the history route, started doing history with the Black history man himself, Robin Walker, started to do his courses. Everything, the whole world started to get black. You go to Mexico, they're digging up things in Mexico. Black, 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 black. So it may seem like I'm pro-black. I'm not pro-black. I'm pro-truth. I want to get that out of the way. And I'm anti-falsehood. I'm not anti-doctors. I'm not anti-government. None of that. I'm just pro-truth, anti-falsehood. And the reason why I'm those things is because I know where it leads to. I know falsehood leads to confusion. So that means anytime you're getting falsehood, which is misinformation, it's going to lead to pain. It's going to lead to pain. Therefore, you want truth. Truth is the antidote to confusion. Truth is the antidote to falsehood. Truth is the antidote to misinformation. So I want truth over everything, because I know that that truth brings me clarity. And that clarity leads to harmony, which will lead to peace. And that's what I want in life, peace. So with that being said, again, as I'm going through my presentation, I just want to deliver total clarity, because I know what that leads to, peace. Or going back to ancient times, what did they say in ancient Kemet? Ma'at, balance, justice, truth, love. They're all one and the same. That's what we want. So in order to have that, we need to go with truth over everything, even if it hurts us. We need to know the truth, yeah? So in order for you to find out the truth of anything, you must ask questions. So here's a question for everyone. What's more important, the truth or your opinion? Now, just put it in the chat. What to you is more important, the truth or your opinion? And by the way, just be honest. This is a no judgment zone right now. So a lot of people are putting the truth. A lot of people are putting the truth, 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 truth. Everyone's saying the truth. Okay. Interesting. Everyone's saying the truth. All right. Okay. Everyone's saying the truth. The truth is more important in your opinion. Okay. With that being said, someone said both. Big up. Someone said both. All right. Next question. What happens when the truth doesn't match your opinion? So you've got an opinion about something, and then you're met with the truth or some new information that seems to be the truth. What happens to your opinion? I'm going to tell you what happens. Big up Victoria. Just put the scientific term. The scientific term is cognitive dissonance. Yeah. This is why people get upset when their beliefs are challenged. A mental conflict occurs when beliefs are contradicted by new information. This conflict activates areas of the brain involved in personal identity and emotional response to threats. The brain's alarms go off when a person feels threatened on a deeply personal and emotional level, causing them to shut down and disregard any rational evidence that contradicts what they previously regarded as truth. Yeah? So with that being said, family, I want to make a disclaimer. The information that I'm going to be sharing tonight is what I believe to be true because I've checked it, and I'm going to give you my sources and make you guys check it as well. But it may not match what you believe to be true. It may not match your opinion or your belief system. So it might, and I'm saying this as a disclaimer, as a warning, some of the things I say tonight might cause you cognitive dissonance. Now, I'm not trying to do that on purpose. I'm just trying to speak the truth. That's me. I seek the truth and then I speak the truth. But if it causes you cognitive dissonance, which is mental pain, that is not what I'm trying to do. However, when you're met with the truth, someone said, be open-minded. When you're met with the truth, try not to respond emotionally. Just check to see if what I'm saying is true. Yeah. And another disclaimer, I will be showing videos and that sort of stuff. There might be the odd swear word and that sort of stuff. It's a very deep subject that we're going into tonight. Misinformation, deceptive language, and that sort of stuff. So I'm not trying to sugarcoat this and make it, nice for everyone. I'm just going to put it out there, and how you take it is how you take it. Yeah. But you know me, I always show evidence because science is logic backed up by evidence. So everything I say tonight, I'm going to be backing it up with proof. All right. With that being said, let's go into language. And why is language so important? Why does language matter so much? Language shapes perception. It can inform, inspire, or deceive. Deceptive language often hides in plain sight, in headlines, policy announcements. Didn't Brother Andrew just talk about a policy announcement? Scientific claims, or advertising. So what's the goal of tonight? The goal of tonight is to learn to detect patterns. Always look for the patterns, family, especially in language. Ask questions and analyze agendas. Always try to analyze agendas. Lady Ma'at was talking about Agenda 47. They always have an agenda. So we need to analyze their agendas. All right. Now, I don't take credit for the source. I take credit for the synthesis. So I'm just going to tell you where I get my information from. With regards to breaking down language and words, yeah, I got most of my information that I'm going to be sharing tonight from this amazing book, which is The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept by a great man called Neely Fuller Jr. Now, for those of you who are not aware of who Neely Fuller Jr. is, he was the mentor of the great, the honorable Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, who wrote the amazing book, The ISIS Papers. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, she credits Neely Fuller as her mentor. And unfortunately, I mean, the guy, he lived an amazing life. He was, I think, 95, but he passed away earlier this year. Neely Fuller Jr. passed away in February this year. So I'm going to be dedicating this lecture to him because, again, I don't take credit for the source. I take credit for the synthesis. I'm getting my information about how to break down language, how to break down patterns and words from this book, The United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. Yeah. Neely Fuller Jr. And before he passed, again, he was about 95, I believe. Before he passed, For decades and decades and decades, he used to be on radio talking once a week on Talktainment Radio. So big up Talktainment Radio. They had him on their radio station every week, once a week. And he used to be talking about the same thing every week. And the same thing he used to talk about every week was the usual suspects. Every week, he'd talk about the usual suspects. Yeah. So with that being said, I'm going to show you a little clip of him being on radio. Well, I'm going to play you a little audio of him on radio. And listen to this clip, family. He's talking about how to control a conversation. Listen to this.
You do it through the process of compensatory conversation control, which is what we've been talking about all day today. And it's the use of words and how best to go about solving problems. Keep concentrating on this. Problem solving, problem solving, problem solving. What's the best way to solve problems? In a scientific laboratory, or when you're talking to someone on a bus, or talking to someone on the phone, and you're about what? Problem solving. What's the best procedure for doing that? Questions and answers.
Yes, sir.
Why? Because the logical procedure throughout the entire universe is all problems, without exception, are solved through what process? Questions and answers. So the way you control your emotions is that you immediately go into a question mode. Stay in the question lane. Don't stay away from making statements. What you want is conversation control, compensatory conversation control. That's what it's called. So that you don't argue. When you have conversation control, you don't have an argument. What's the best way to avoid an argument? Ask questions.
Ask questions.
And do not help the person with the answer.
Very powerful, family. Very powerful. How do you control a conversation? A lot of people think, well, just talk over the person, or make sure you express your opinion. You know what I mean? Talk your truth. People say, oh, this is my truth. I need to speak my truth and you know, talk over people, or make sure you get your opinion across to control a conversation. No, the easiest way and the most powerful way to control any conversation is to ask questions. The person who's asking questions is the person in control. Understand that. The person who asks, big up Princess, she said, children do this very well. Yes, children are always in the question mode. Mommy, why is the sky blue? Mommy, why are the birds flying? Why this? Why that? And then when you don't know, you get angry with them. Like, yeah, the sky's blue because of blah, blah, blah. Okay, why? Because it is. It just is. But why? And then what do? You get angry with them and tell them to shut up. Yeah? That is it. That is how you control a conversation. You ask questions. You stay in the question lane. Yeah? All right. So as we go through learning how to decode deceptive language, always ask questions, family. Never make statements. Never voice your opinion. Just stay in the question lane and ask questions. And like Neely Fuller says, all problems are solved through the process of questions and answers. Now, I've talked about the usual suspects a lot. I said that Neely Fuller Jr. talks about the usual suspects a lot. Two things you need to understand about the usual suspects when it comes on to misinformation and deceptive language. They follow two rules of thumb. What are the two rules of thumb when it comes on to delivering misinformation to us? First rule, they always have an agenda. Always. Now, notice I didn't say they sometimes have an agenda. Notice I didn't say most of the time they have an agenda. No. What is the first rule of thumb, family? They always have an agenda. And for those of you who have never seen any of my presentations, one thing about my presentations, you have to take notes. So this would be a good time to start taking notes. The usual suspects follow two rules of thumb. The first one is they always have an agenda. What's the second rule of thumb? The second rule of thumb is it's never what they say it is. Notice I didn't say it's most of the time not what they say it is. No, I use the word it's never what they say it is. They always have an agenda, and it's never what they say it is. So whatever they say, if they give us some information, which they do every day, they give us misinformation every day. Whatever they say, the reason why we're giving you this information is because of blah, blah, blah. It's never that. Yeah. So they always have an agenda. It's never what they say it is. And like I say, science is logic backed up by evidence. Where's the evidence? So I'm going to show you. I could show you so many examples, family, but I'm just going to show you one. Yeah. One thing about the usual suspects, and this is something I've noticed, I'm sure you guys have noticed it as well. Every year, they beg Black people for blood. Every year, without fail, they'll beg us, Black people, for our blood. So, this is from The Guardian. This is, I don't know if you can see that, but on the left there, under where it says Press Association, it's got the date. The date is Tuesday, the 20th of June, 2017. So 2017, yeah? I'm going back as far as 2017. It says NHS launches urgent appeal for Black people to donate blood. Now, remember what I said at the beginning. We are trying to analyze agendas and notice patterns. Notice the language patterns. So NHS launches urgent appeal for Black people to donate blood. Now, why would they need our blood? Underneath that, it says, call prompted by demand for RO subtype, more common amongst Black people, to treat conditions such as sickle cell disease. Okay, so they've told us what, they told us they want our blood urgently, and they've told us the reason why. You know, for sickle cell, there's sickle cell patients. We need to give your blood to the sickle cell patients. Now, let's go back. Let's see if people have been listening. What's the first rule of thumb, family, when you're dealing with the usual suspects? Put it in the chat. What's the first rule of thumb? The first rule of thumb is they always have an agenda. What's the second rule of thumb? What's the second rule of thumb? It's never what they say it is. All right. So they say it's for sickle cell. It's never what they say it is. All right. So that was 2017. This is 2018. This is NHS Blood and Transplant website. It says, call for Black donors to join the growing numbers saving lives this Black History Month. And then it says, this is from October 2018. This Black History Month, NHS Blood and Transplant is urging Black people to join the rising numbers saving lives in their community by registering as blood and organ donors. All right. That's 2018. Here's 2019. Urgent appeal for 5,000 new blood donors in key areas. We really need your blood, Black people. We need it. We need it. We need it. Yeah. That's 2019. This one is from, this one's 2021. So same website. This was from 2021. I was looking for, examples of 2020. Apparently during 2020, they didn't want our blood. I don't know why. Something happened in 2020, but they wasn't urgently, trying to require our blood in 2020. So every year, except for 2020, they were urgently trying to get our blood. Yeah. I don't know what happened in 2020. They didn't want our blood, but every year before that and after that. So that's 2021. Here's 2022. It says, record demand for blood donations to help sickle cell patients prompts urgent call for more donors of Black heritage. They urgently, we really need to help these sickle cell patients. Yeah. This is 2023. It says urgent NHS plea for more donors of Black heritage during sickle cell. We urgently need your blood, Black people. Here's 2024. NHS plea for more donors of Black heritage. Blah, 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 blah. And here's 2025. Over 100K respond to urgent blood appeal, but renewed call for more donors from the Black heritage. Okay, so every year they're begging us for our blood. And they say it's because, of sickle cell patients. Now, is that true? Now, according to Russell Brand, that is not true. Listen to this.
This is a serious story, I suppose. Well, you tell me. Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments. Do you think it's pretty serious that if you're donating your blood, thinking you're helping people get blood transfusions, but they're selling it abroad?
So it's not our blood abroad so that the Chinese can have it and inject it. It's a commodity. It's so the Chinese they own it, so then they sell it back to us. So our NHS, a bit like vaccines and things, are going to have to pay. Extortionate rates.
For nothing.
No, we sell it. So that you give it, and then the government, like it owns the NHS and is selling off parts of the NHS, it'll sell off that blood.
All right. So people saying it's too low, but basically what Russell Brand was saying is when you give them your blood, they sell it. In this example, he's saying they sell it to China. They sell it as a commodity. So they sell it. Yeah. That's why they call them blood. They have blood banks. The same, they invest it basically. They invest your blood. The same way, if you put your money into a bank, they're going to invest your money to make money for themselves. I'm hoping everyone knows that. When you put your money into a bank, they invest your money. They use your money to make investments, to make money. Yeah. That's what they do with your blood. When you give them blood, they invest your blood. They sell your blood, yeah, to make money. And then what the brother said in the video is, and then if we've got a blood shortage, guess what? We have to then go to them and ask them for the blood that we sold to them, yeah? And then they're going to sell it to us at a higher price. So that's what they do with your blood. They invest it. They sell it on to other people, and they probably do other nefarious things, yeah? For those of you who understand what they do with melanin, you understand? They use your blood as well. But again, I know there might be some people who have required blood transfusions and it helped them. So some people may say, no, that's not what they did. It helped me. Cool. There's always exceptions to every rule. But generally speaking, that's not the reason why they're asking Black people for blood. They take our blood and they sell it, they invest it, they use it for billionaires and millionaires and do all types of cannibal stuff. All right, so that's out of the way. Now, I've been talking about the usual suspects a lot. Some people who are not familiar with my lectures might be like, who are they? You keep on saying they. Who are they? Who are they? Who are they? Who are they? I get that a lot when I talk about this subject. Who are they? Yeah. Here's my answer. I don't know. I don't know who they are. And I'm not being funny. I don't know who they are. They do act like vampires, though. They do have like a vampire culture. I'm just going by their work. I'm going by what they've done. Yeah. So again, I don't know who they are. There's no master list. And Neely Fuller Jr. says this in his book. There's no master list of who they are. You get who are the usual suspects and who aren't. So you have to suspect. Yeah, when you're around certain things or certain people, you have to suspect that you might be around them. Yeah. And some people will be like, no, man, why would you do that? That doesn't make sense. But we do this all the time, family. This is common sense. This is logic. If you lived in a crime-ridden area, if you lived in an area where there was a lot of burglaries, you might, for precautionary measures, lock your front door and lock your back door after you come indoors from being outside. You might, if you've got a nice car in a certain area. I know some people that they put a lock on their steering wheel. How many people know people who put a lock on their steering wheel? Why are they putting a lock on their steering wheel? Because if they don't, they suspect that, someone, they might come in and break into their car and steal their car. Now, what if someone said that to you? I've put a lock on my steering wheel, because they might break in and steal my car. And you're going to turn around to that person and say, who are they? The person's going to turn to you and be like, I don't know who they are, but I know that there's burglaries happen. Remember my man down the road? He got his car stolen. Remember Jason down the road? He got his car stolen. My lady down there, she got her car stolen. Do you get what I'm saying? So I don't know who they are, but I can see their work. I can see what they've done. So I'm going to take precautionary measures to protect myself from them. I don't know who they are. I can't name them, because I don't know who the burglars are. So just to get that question out of the way, because I know I get that a lot. Who are they? I don't know. I don't know. But I do know they act like vampires. Yeah. And let's take it a step further. I say they act like vampires. According to Akala, they're psychopaths. In this clip, he's going to talk about how we're governed here in the UK. We're governed by psychopaths.
Unfortunately, we're governed by psychopaths. Yeah, if the people who governed us had the will of ordinary people who were willing to drive from Leicester, yeah, on their own dime with their own money because of tragedy and health, there would be no problems in this country or in the world. But we're governed by people who are psychopaths. We put profit and greed over the safety of human beings regularly and routinely as part of the way they view the world. Austerity, neoliberalism, ultra-capitalism, where it's greed and profit over people.
Greed and profit over people, yeah? So according to Akala, they're psychopaths. They are psychopaths, yeah? So when it comes on to who we're dealing with, we don't know who they are, but we can see their work. We can see what they're doing, yeah? Now with that being said, let's go on to their language. Their language is often dishonest, deceptive, and deflective, yeah? When it comes onto their language, every time they talk to us, their language is dishonest, deceptive, and deflective. Now, why is it what I call the triple Ds? Why is it always dishonest, deceptive, and deflective? Because those 3 Ds lead to confusion. Those 3 Ds will always lead to confusion. If you're talking to someone and you're being dishonest, or you're being very deflective, or you're being, what was the other one? Deceptive, that's going to lead to confusion. And you now know confusion leads to conflict, and conflict leads to pain. And pain is not always physical. Pain can be physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, psychological, or social. Yeah. And what I love about what Neely Fuller says about confusion, he says that the usual suspects, they control the masses in 2 ways, with direct violence or indirect violence. Now, direct violence is how they used to control the masses, yeah? Military, shooting people, you know, using brute force. You know, with us, they used to hang us on trees and do all types of stuff, you know, whip us, all that. That's direct violence to control us. But they realize that's a hell of a lot of work. And there's too many of them now. You know, they hate the fact that there's loads of people on this planet. They can't control everyone with direct violence anymore. They found out through their own observation that you can control the masses with indirect violence. And Neely Fuller says confusion is indirect violence. Now, why is it indirect violence? Because that's quite profound to say that when you cause someone confusion, when you give someone misinformation, that is indirect violence. Why? Because confusion leads to pain. It's going to cause someone harm. Yeah. So anytime you're giving someone falsehood or misinformation, or you're being deceptive, that is a form of violence against them. Indirect violence. I hope people get that. That was profound. When I read that in the book, I was like, nah, that's deep. That is deep. Confusion, when you're purposely causing confusion, you are causing someone harm. You're trying to harm them. Yeah, you're trying to cause them pain. And one thing about pain is they want you to be in pain because then you're vulnerable. If we use the sinner's analogy, if you're in pain, you're vulnerable. For the big up all the people that have watched the movie Sinners. Mary was in pain, remember? Mary was hurt. Not going to go through too much because I know Brother Andrew's going to break it down. But Mary, her mother just died. She was in pain. And that's how the vampires got her. So when you're in pain, you are vulnerable. You're vulnerable to being got bit. You're vulnerable to getting bit by the vampires when you're in pain. So if you don't want pain, you need total clarity. All right. So in order for you to avoid pain, you need to be able to decipher what is true and what is false. When people are talking to you, are they telling a lie or are they telling the truth? So let's break down what a lie is. What is a lie? Now, I got this from dictionary.com. According to dictionary.com, a lie is a false statement made with deliberate intent to deceive. I'll repeat, a lie is a false statement made with a deliberate intent to deceive. And then it goes on to say an intentional untruth, an intentional one. Yeah. And someone asks, what are the 3Ds? Don't worry, we're going to go through a recap at the end. And obviously this is being recorded. So people, when you watch the replay, you'll be able to make notes, you'll be able to stop and pause and rewind and all that sort of stuff. So I'm just going to get through it and then you guys can ask your questions afterwards. So what's a lie? A false statement made with a deliberate intent to deceive, or an intentional untruth. And then it says a falsehood. So a lie is a falsehood. So what's a falsehood then? What is a falsehood? What's false information? A falsehood is a false statement. Then they say a lie. So wait a minute. A lie is falsehood and falsehood is a lie. So what's really the difference between the two? What's the difference between a lie and false information or falsehood? The only difference then is the intention. When you're lying, you're intentionally saying something that is false. And when you're talking and saying something that's false, but you don't realize what you're saying is false, then that can be called falsehood. Yeah, I hope people understand the difference. So the only difference is the intention. And to me, intention means nothing if the pain is the same. So if you're giving me information and it's false, you're still causing me harm. That's still indirect violence, regardless of your intention. Keep that in mind. That's why it's so important to tell the truth. Seek truth, speak truth. Truth over everything, family. That is my motto, truth over everything, because truth is the antidote to everything that we're going through. All right, so now you know the difference between falsehood and a lie. Let me go through the 3 main types of lies. Now, this will be interesting for some people because this will kind of make sense with regards to what you've been seeing out there in the media and that sort of stuff. And I'm going to show you examples as we go on as well. So let me get through the 3 main types of lies. And again, I'm going to go through it quite quickly. You guys make your notes though. Again, make your notes and then we'll go through it again at the end. First type of lie is the lie of falsification. The lie of falsification is just when you say something that is untrue. Yeah. Lie of falsification is saying something that is untrue. Number 2, lie of omission. The lie of omission is when you withhold information. Yeah. So let me give you something. I'm going to show you some video examples, but let me just give you some examples of each one. So lie of falsification is when, you know, when the usual suspects say something like, black people, you're low on vitamin D because your melanin blocks sunlight. That's a lie of falsification. Your melanin doesn't block sunlight. Your melanin absorbs sunlight. Your melanin literally does the opposite of what they're telling you it does. Your melanin doesn't block sunlight. It absorbs it. Yeah. So you're not low on, the reason why you're low on vitamin D is not because your melanin blocks it. It's actually because you're not getting enough sunlight. Yeah. And if the sun is burning you, then it's because your melanin is weak. All right, so that's a lie of falsification when they say something that is totally untrue. Then the lie of omission is withholding information, just withholding information. Now, I'm sure you've had this happen with your friends. You're talking to one friend about what happened on Saturday. Tell me what happened on Saturday. You guys went to that rave. Tell me what happened. Then you get some information from this friend, but they withhold some information that is very important for some strange reason. Something happened, but they withhold it. You're talking to this friend, they tell you something, okay, that's cool. Then you talk to this friend and they tell you everything. They tell you the whole truth. Oh my gosh, and then this happened. And then, Tracy had a fight with Vanessa. What? Tracy had a fight with Vanessa? Hold on a second. I was talking to Rebecca yesterday. Rebecca never told me that. So Rebecca, why didn't you tell me that Tracy had a fight with? That is a lie of omission. That is withholding information. Yeah, lie of omission. And then let's go on to the third one, which is arguably the most powerful lie of all, the lie of influence, which is deflection or misdirection. Now, I've got to break that one down. So there's 3 lies, but I actually have to break down the lie of influence. That's how powerful it is. And there's 3 things that they use for the lie of influence. I'm going to break them all down. Yeah. So let's go through some examples, some media examples of all 3. So let's start with the lie of falsification. The most famous one that I'm sure you're all aware of with regards to the first lie, the lie of falsification, is this one.
Been silent 3 days. His lawyers wanted it that way. But the political damage was rising much too fast. Today, drawn and bleary-eyed, Mr. Clinton joined the battle to save his presidency.
But I want to say one thing to the American people. I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky. I never told anybody to lie, not a single time, never. These allegations are false, and I need to go back to work for the American people. Thank you.
He turned his back on questions as the First Lady followed.
These allegations are false. And then, you know, Miss Lewinsky was like, I've got evidence. Miss Lewinsky did her thing, and then all of a sudden, my guy had to come back on TV and say what?
Indeed, I did have a relationship with Miss Lewinsky that was not appropriate. In fact, it was wrong. It constituted a critical lapse in judgment and a personal failure on my part, for which I am solely and completely responsible. I misled people, including even my wife. I deeply regret that.
That's where the 90s took us.
All right, so that's a lie falsification. He said, I did not have sexual relations with that woman, and then he's like, indeed I did, yeah? So, but family, chime in here. And people are saying the volume, I think the volume is up. Remember what I said at the beginning, anytime something unusual happens during my presentation, always blame the usual suspects. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the volume on my side, but people are saying the volume's low. This happens a lot of the times when I talk on platforms. So just understand the usual suspects are doing their usual behavior. Yeah, because let me see. I've turned up. Let me turn up this next one, see if you guys can hear it more. All right, I've turned it up to the fullest with regards to sound. So let's see how we go with this one. All right, so lie falsification. I'm going to show you another example here. And this one, that was from the 90s, yeah? And some people are saying the volume is fine, by the way. But that one's from the 90s, yeah? This one's very, very recent. So this one is just from the other day. Who heard about the story, a very tragic story of Air India, the flight that took off, I think it was took off from India, and I think it was going to London. And then it crashed like 20 seconds later. Took off and it crashed like 20 seconds later, yeah? So that's the lie of, this is the lie of falsification. According to, you know, the usual suspects, there was a survivor. So the plane crashed, but there was one survivor, yeah? And I just want you to listen to his story. Because again, tonight is about decoding, you know, misinformation. Listen to his story. This is the lone survivor, yeah? Listen to this.
Now, there was one miraculous escape in Thursday's airline tragedy. It was the smallest twist of chance that made all the difference between life and death. The sole survivor of the Air India plane crash said he walked out of a broken emergency exit after the aircraft hit a medical college hostel in Ahmedabad. DD India's Meghna Dev spoke to the UK national of Indian origin, Ramesh Vishwas Kumar.
The lone survivor who miraculously survived this fatal air crash is with us, is undergoing treatment at the civil hospital in Ahmedabad. We did see the video float on social media where he himself, did go to the ambulance. Are you feeling better now?
Yes, better than yesterday.
Obviously. And how is the treatment going on?
Treatment going good. Everything is, yes, good.
What was the situation yesterday? Can you describe for us, please?
I can't explain. Everything happened in my eye. I can't.
How did you manage to escape? Did you pull the emergency?
She asked him, how did you manage to escape? And he said, that was his answer. How did you escape? I can't.
What was the situation yesterday? Can you describe for us, please?
I can't explain. Everything happened in my eye. I can't.
How did you manage to escape? Did you pull the emergency door?
No. emergency door is broken.
Yeah.
My seat is broken.
Yeah.
Then I see the pace little bit.
Yeah.
Then I will try to come out.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why.
Did the aircraft catch fire before you came out?
Yes.
Okay.
A little bit fire. After me, I'm out. Then blast.
All right. Did you catch that, family? She asked you, did the aircraft, catch on fire? And we all, I'm sure some of you have seen the video. The aircraft blew up. Yeah, the aircraft blew up. Yeah, and as you can see from this, it apparently, according to the usual suspects, it crashed on top of a building. It crashed on top of a building. The building didn't collapse. Hint, hint, wink, wink. It crashed on top of a building. Yeah, and it exploded. And he said, I'm hoping everyone caught what he said at the end. Let me just play that one last time.
Now there was one. Yeah, that's right.
Did the aircraft catch fire before you came out?
Yes.
Okay.
A little bit fire. After me, I'm out. Then blast.
He said little bit fire, and then after I'm out, blast. So he said that the plane was just a little bit of fire when he was in the plane, but then when he exited the plane, blast. Now, let's see the official video of what happened. According to the usual suspects, this is the official video of the plane crashing. And again, I did put a disclaimer at the beginning. For some of you, this might be distressing, but I'm going to show Air India crashing, yeah? So just look at this video, or not. Does that look like a little bit of fire, fam? Did that look like a little bit of fire? The thing blew up as soon as it crashed. My guy's talking about little bit of fire, and then when I come out, blast. No, that's not true. So that's a lie of falsification, yeah? A lie of falsification. And that's crazy to me. That's crazy as a lie. Again, some people be like, oh my gosh, you're talking about the lone survivor. No, I know using logic and evidence that cannot be true. Yeah, so that's a lie of falsification. But it gets worse, family. Listen to what he says next. You ain't gonna believe this part. Listen to what he says next when she asks him, like, how did you come out? Where did you come out?
Did anybody help you, or you after that you came out on your own? How did you jump from the aircraft?
I'm not jumping.
Okay.
I just walk out, innit?
You hear that? He said, I'm not jumping. I just walked out. And what's crazy is, like I said at the beginning, everyone is on script. So this lady who's interviewing him, remember the person who's interviewing, who's asking questions, you're the one in control. She's on script, yeah? So she said, because she knows the plane landed or crashed on the building. It crashed on top of the building, yeah? So she's saying, okay, so did you walk out? What happened? What happened? And he's like, oh no, she said, did you jump out? Did you jump down to the floor? He's like, no, I just walked out onto the floor. Listen again.
Did anybody help you, or you after that you came out on your own? How did you jump from the aircraft?
I'm not jumping.
Okay.
I just walk out, innit?
I just walk out, innit? I just walk out, innit? This is too crazy. And then check this part out. She tries to keep him on script because, again, remember, she's on script. They're always on script. She's on script. So she says to him, okay, do you mean that you walked out onto the building? Listen.
How did you jump from the aircraft?
I'm not jumping.
Okay.
I just walk out, innit?
Okay.
Then ambulance coming in.
You did walk out on the building, or?
No, in floor.
On the floor.
Yes. Inside the aeroplane.
Woo! She tried to keep him on the script. She's probably looking at the usual suspects like, you meant you walked out onto the building? He's like, no, just on the floor. I just walked out on the floor. Oh my gosh. So now we all understand lie of falsification, yeah? That's the first lie out of the way. Let's see who's been taking notes. What's the second lie? What's the second type of lie? It's the lie of omission. The lie of omission is when you withhold important information. Now for this one, I'm gonna go all the way back to the O.J. Simpson case. Who remembers for those of you who are old enough, who remembers the O.J. Simpson case, and who was the LA police detective who found the bloody glove. Remember, there was an LA police detective. Who remembers his name? The LA police detective who found the glove. Thank you, Mark Furman. Mark Furman said he found the bloody glove, which O.J. Simpson used, apparently, to kill his ex-wife, apparently, yeah? Now, Mark Furman, after saying all of that on, on the stand, and by the way, when it comes onto the stand, before I show this clip, because a lot of people will relate to these sort of court videos, yeah? A lot of people, and if you think about what's happening now, Diddy's in court right now. A lot of people are talking about the Diddy trial. You know, when you go to court, yeah, think about what's happening with the Diddy trial, and they've got Cassie on the, on the thing testifying. When they bring them up to testify, what do they get them to swear by? They get them to swear on the oath. And what do they say to them? They say, do you swear? Does anyone know? Can anyone remember? Yeah, I think they put their hand on the oath or something. They put their hand up. Yeah, when they go on the stand, when they're on the stand, they ask them, do you swear to tell the truth? Does anyone know the full thing that they say?
The whole truth and nothing but the truth.
Thank you, Lady Ma'a. The whole truth and nothing but the truth. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Do you know why they say that? Do you know why they say that? Remember, this is the usual suspects. They say that because it covers the 3 types of lies. It covers this. So check it out. The reason why they say, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Because it covers these 3 lies. Do you swear to tell the truth? That covers lie number one, which is the lie of falsification. In other words, don't say anything on this stand that is untrue. Do you swear to tell the truth? Yes, I swear to tell the truth. Lie number 1 covered. Do you swear to tell the whole truth? That covers lie number 2, the lie of omission, withholding information. Do you swear to tell the whole truth? You know what I mean? Tell me what happened between my lady and the 2 who had a fight. The whole truth. Oh, was that Sister Rita? My bad. And then the last one is, do you swear to tell nothing but the truth? And that covers lie number 3, which is the lie of influence, which is the most powerful. So do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? That covers the 3 lies. Yeah. Don't be misdirecting me here, there, and everywhere, trying to influence me with certain other things. No, tell me the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth covers the 3 lies. All right. So let me go back to the lie of omission. So this is Mark Furman on the stand now. He's already said, yeah, I found the bloody glove and we found this at O.J. Simpson's house and blah, blah, blah. Now he has to go back on the stand and listen to the questions and listen to his answers.
Detective Furman, would you please resume the witness stand? All right, good afternoon, Detective.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
You're reminded, sir, that you were still under oath. Mr. Ullman, you may proceed.
Detective Furman, was the testimony that you gave in this case completely truthful?
I wish to assert my Fifth Amendment privilege.
Fifth Amendment.
Have you ever falsified a police report?
I wish to assert my Fifth Amendment privilege.
Is it your intention to assert your Fifth?
So everyone understands I'm hoping everyone understands Fifth Amendment. You know what I mean? That's you just saying, yeah, to protect myself, I'm not going to answer that question. So listen again.
Completely truthful.
I wish to assert my Fifth Amendment privilege.
Have you ever falsified a police report?
I wish to assert my Fifth Amendment privilege.
Is it your intention to assert your Fifth Amendment privilege with respect to all questions that I asked you?
Yes.
I only have one other question.
What was that, Mr. Ullman?
Detective Furman, did you plant or manufacture any evidence in this case?
I assert my Fifth Amendment privilege.
Okay, so did you plant evidence? Did you plant evidence? You say no, right? You're an honest person. You say, no, I didn't plant no evidence. He looks at the usual suspect. The usual suspect gives him the nod like, you know what to say. I wish to assert my Fifth Amendment privileges. In other words, I plead the fifth. Yeah. So that is the lie of omission, withholding information. I swear, family, if I knew this information when I was younger, you know, out there in the field, it would have helped me with a lot of stuff. You get me? Back in the day, that is, back in the day. You know what I mean? My girl would come home and be like, Leon, where was you last night? I'd have to look to the usual suspects. I wish to, you know, serve my Fifth Amendment privileges. Who was that girl that you was talking to, you know, yesterday at 5 p.m.? I plead the fifth. You know what I mean? And they got some people in the chat, they were talking about Dave Chappelle. Yeah, Dave Chappelle made like a skit of this. And for those of you who haven't seen Dave Chappelle's skit, he's basically pretending that he's a drug lord and he's in court and they're asking him questions and look how he responds. Listen.
Sir, is it true you were a crack cocaine dealer for 7 years?
I plead the fifth.
Sir, will you tell us about the cartels you dealt with in your time as a crack cocaine dealer?
No, but I can tell you that I plead the fifth.
Exactly how much money did you earn in your time as a crack cocaine dealer?
I said there are so many amendments in the Constitution of the United States of America. I can only choose one. I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth. Anything you say, fifth. Go ahead, ask me a question. Did you? Fifth. I have a secret document that I think you need to say.
Thank you all, sir. Good afternoon. I got your sentence reduced to a month, buddy.
All right, so that's the lie of omission. So we've gone through the lie of falsification, saying things that are untrue, the lie of omission, withholding important information, and then the most powerful one, family, is the lie of influence. Now, again, the lie of influence, I got to break it down. They use the lie of influence in 3 different ways, yeah? And I'm going to break them down. So the 3 different ways that they use the lie of influence is 1, the use of authority. They know that people look up to and believe people in an authoritative figure, you know, in an authoritative status. So they just naturally believe these people. So how do they use it? Well, with doctors, scientists, medical professionals, you know. So with doctors, they'll be like, well, according to this doctor, you know, you need to take this medication 3 times a day. Well, the doctor said it. It must be true. Now, I'm revealing, you know, how to break down this language, but I hear a lot of us say this foolishness. Do you get what I'm saying? Like a lot of family members will say, well, the doctor told me that blah, 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 blah. So I got to do it, you know, the doctor said. That's a lie of influence, family. They're using, you know, the doctor and the credentials of the doctor to influence you. Now, the doctor could have a, you know, a great intention, but they use that as a lie of influence. Doctors, scientists, during COVID, they did this a lot. Remember, they told us to trust the science. Trust the science. In other words, don't ask questions. Are you mad? Don't ask questions. Just trust the science. Trust the science. According to this scientist, this vaccine is harmless. Not me, the scientist. This scientist said that the vaccine is harmless. So just trust the science. Trust the scientists, yeah? And medical professionals and that, all of that sort of stuff. Be careful with this one, family. If anyone leads with their credentials, be careful. And like Neely Fuller says, don't just believe them. Ask questions. Stay in the question lane. So if this person's on, yeah, these are my credentials. I'm a doctor. I'm an MD. I got this. I got that. And that's a lie of influence. They're trying to influence you with their credentials, with authority. That's the first one. Yeah, that's number 1. Number 2 is attractivity. Now, stay with me, folks. And again, for the people who are asking questions, we're going to go through questions when I finish. So have your questions ready. Again, you can challenge me. You can challenge this stuff. Because remember, The process of solving all problems is through questions and answers. All right. So number 2 is attractivity. This one's quite deep. They use attractivity with physical attraction or emotion or emotional attraction. So they understand that physically attractive people are more believable. That's the reason why they use them in adverts. So they'll use physically attractive people to sell you something that may kill you, like cigarettes. You watch a cigarette advert when they used to do adverts. Go back in time, they used to do adverts with movie stars. Movie stars used to sell cigarettes and that sort of stuff. So they use celebrities and that sort of stuff. So physical attraction, using sexy women and men drinking alcohol in an alcohol advert. Say, oh, look at us, we're beautiful. Yeah, that's physical attraction. That's called attractivity. Now, the emotional attraction one is quite deep because they can pull on your heartstrings. Yeah. So if they show you something and it pulls on your heartstrings, yeah, they show you a baby crying or something happened in Palestine and they show you a baby, and that's emotional attraction. It's attracting you because of the emotional feeling that you're getting from it. It can work both ways. They can show you something that makes you feel really good and influence you that way. They do that with our culture, by the way. They love to use Black culture to influence us. They do that at award shows and that sort of stuff. So they use emotional attraction. But generally speaking, they do it the other way. So they do something to pull on your heartstrings. Yeah. Feed the poor, all that sort of stuff. Emotional. You see someone crying and that sort of stuff. And again, I'm going to show you examples of all of these. And then the last one is affinity. Now, this one's powerful as well. The lie of influence, they use affinity. And affinity is, that person looks like me. Yeah. They're just like me. Oh my gosh. During the pandemic, did they not rinse that one, family? Affinity, where they get one of us to influence us. So every time you turn around, you see a Black person talking about, yeah, we need to take the vaccine. We need to do this. We need to do that. Yeah, that's affinity. So let me go through some examples. Let me go through the attractivity one, because we understand physical attraction. Again, you look at someone, they're physically attractive, they can influence you. But emotional attraction, let me show you this. Now, again, Russell Brand breaks this down quite well. Yeah, so he's going to show clips of politicians crying. I say fake crying. You guys let me know what you think. But he's going to show you clips of politicians crying and then just give his commentary. Listen.
Matt Hancock cried, didn't he, when talking about the new vaccine? What does it mean when politicians cry? Let's have a look at politicians crying. Let's look at the way the pandemic has served the interests of the powerful and affected ordinary people. And let's look at evocative images of crying politicians while looking at the reality that it's potentially masking.
I mean, just simple words there, reacting it. You're quite emotional by that.
Well, it's just, it's been such a tough year.
I don't think that's actual crying, is it? It's sort of laughing.
Well,
What I would say is it was definitely theatrical. Whether or not he's crying, I mean, he's evidently not crying if what you mean by crying is tears coming out of someone's eyes, because that's not what's happened. But it was interesting and performative, and I do think that what would be understood as a moment of revelation did take place. Like that Matt Hancock had a reaction, an unconscious reaction, demonstration of relief, which I think was closer to laughter than crying, but was nonetheless revelatory, and for him required an element of theatre to continue it. Crying in public has very particular connotations. Done correctly, or perhaps we could argue done authentically, it carries a great deal of meaning, but it's a true feeling, beyond language, beyond performance. But if we query it at all, if it doesn't seem authentic, then what does it become? The ultimate artifice, the ultimate cynicism of deploying that which we consider to be authentic in order to meet your own end. Let's have a look at some more politicians crying and see what it makes us feel.
Whatever challenges come before us, I will always believe our nation's best days lie ahead. God bless.
Sometimes I think they're not crying on behalf, like it's not tears of compassion, but it's actually the opposite, rather individualistic, egocentric expression of tears.
I see that, we notice now that it's affecting you now, and it must have been
Yes, it's not affecting my voice now.
It's not affecting my voice. I can still basically be Margaret Thatcher.
With enormous and enduring gratitude to have had the opportunity
to serve the country I love.
That was very sincere, that one. Too sincere. That one gives me a little bit of a shut up. The country I love. I was actually trying to organise you a birthday party. Well, you've ruined that, haven't you?
Okay, so you guys tell me what you think of that. So emotional attractivity, I hope you guys are keeping up. That comes under lie of influence. Now, let me go through the lie of affinity, which they rinsed during the pandemic. This is the lie of affinity, family, when they use someone who looks like you to influence you.
We love you. We don't want you to get sick.
We don't want you to die. So please, hear us.
And when your turn comes, take the jab.
Oh, my heart. You love me. You're pulling on my heartstring. You love me. You don't want me to get hurt. So when my turn comes, because of this, and people saying it's scripted, of course it's scripted by the usual suspects. But here's my question to the people in the chat. Why do you think they did this? The people who are in this advert, why do you think they did this? Out of the kindness of their heart, oh yes, let me help the people. Or do you think they got paid? These are questions. Again, I'm just asking questions, yeah? Now, when this come out, remember during COVID, they went mad with this BAME thing. What the hell is BAME? According to this story, BAME campaigners urge, remember that word, urge, they love to use that word. No, it's the Patterns family. BAME campaigners urge UK government to tackle race inequalities after high COVID toll. And BAME, can anyone tell me what BAME means? Apparently, it means Black, Asian, and minority ethnic, I think. BAME, whatever BAME is, yeah? So BAME campaigners started to urge the UK government to do something, yeah? Now, these BAME campaigners put together an advert. Now, let me show you, because Neely Fuller talks about this. He says it's a system. These are not just individual people doing all this madness. It's a system. Let me show you how many people were involved in the system. This BAME thing, the BAME campaigners put together an advert. They put it together because the usual suspects told them to put it together. But check this out. Look in the corner, you've got the Telegram logo, but look how many people were involved in this. Look, this film is being shown on all of these channels. Let me just pause that. This film advert is being shown on all of these channels right now. ITV, Channel 4, Channel 5, and Sky. And then it says underneath that it's that important. Again, what are the two rules of thumb? First rule of thumb is they always have an agenda. What's the second rule of thumb? It's never what they say it is. All right, so you're going to see some BAME people tell you something that is important. You're going to see some BAME people tell you something that is important. Let's listen to some BAME people. And again, when I watch things like this, I feel like these are people who have just been bitten by the vampires. You get me? These are people who have been bitten, boy. You could save someone's life. Would you? Oh, my heartstring. Oh.
Hello, namaste, sat sri akal, assalamu alaikum. This past year.
Just the opening. This is the lie of affinity, lie of influence, the affinity, yeah? She's like, hello, assalamu alaikum, sat sri akal, yeah? I speak your language. I am one of you.
Hello, namaste, sat sri akal, assalamu alaikum. This past year has been challenging for us all, with many of us losing our loved ones.
But we will be reunited with our friends and family.
Good grief. Who's this? What's her name again? What's her name again? What is her name? She's been bitten. Oh, geez, they got her. Beverly
Knight.
Yeah, Beverly Knight. Thank you. They got her. Beverly got bitten. Oh no! Now you can't come into the juke joint. You can't come in now. You got bit. Oh gosh.
Hello, namaste, sat sri akal, assalamu alaikum. This past year has been challenging for us all, with many of us losing our loved ones.
But we will be reunited with our friends and family. All we have to do is just take the vaccine.
Many in our community have suffered the most, largely due to our efforts on the front line at the NHS or as key workers.
Looking after others and serving our community is what we do. It's how we've been brought up.
Good grief.
Why we have such immense pride when a family member becomes a doctor or a nurse.
Lord.
We have so much respect for them. They need our respect now more than ever.
And I hope people are starting to put two and two. That was a lie of authority. Yeah. He was like, oh, we're so proud when these people become doctors. In other words, believe them when they become doctors. Listen again. Start to notice these things now. Hope people have been taking notes.
That's why we have such immense pride when a family member becomes a doctor or a nurse. We have so much respect for them. They need our respect now more than ever.
Today, those doctors and scientists have found us the way forward. A COVID-19 vaccine that will help save lives.
There is no scientific evidence to suggest that the vaccine will work differently for people from ethnic minorities.
In fact, the scientists who developed one of the most widely used vaccines are Muslim.
The vaccine does not include pork or any material of fetal or animal origin.
The vaccine does not contain the virus itself, only harmless elements from it.
Nice.
Taking the vaccine is the only way to boost your immunity against COVID for you and your loved ones. The vaccine was available quickly because of a global effort.
Because huge funds were made available by governments around the world.
So something that would normally take years took just months.
It's very, very rare for vaccines to have a long-term side effect.
No!
But what we do know is COVID-19's long-term implications are deadly.
The COVID-19 vaccines have gone through the same strict processes and regulations as other vaccines, such as for measles, mumps, rubella, and TB.
There is no chip or tracker in the vaccine to keep watching where you go. Your mobile phone actually does a much better job of that.
Pregnant women are not excluded from the vaccine.
They've all been bitten. They've all been bitten.
There's also no evidence to suggest the vaccine affects fertility.
Herd immunity is not an option, as many millions will need to be infected, causing a disastrous number of deaths.
The vaccine does not change or damage our DNA. Not.
Oh my gosh. They've been bit. They've been bit, unfortunately. This is the thing when it comes. This is what you need to understand. This is why everyone should read this book. Yeah? Understand who you're dealing with. These are the usual suspects. So a lot of us will be like, yeah, I love that person. I love that person. Then two twos, you hear them becoming the mouthpiece of the usual suspects. Do you get what I'm saying? Oh my days. I don't even think I can show anymore. I'm sick. I'm sick to my stomach. Yeah? These BAME people, for crying out loud. What is BAME? BAME. They talk about, oh, BAME, you're more likely to die from COVID because you're BAME. What's BAME? I'm not BAME. What the hell is BAME? What if I came out with a study saying, oh, people from the WAME community are more likely, and people will be like, wait, WAME? Wait, what's WAME? What's WAME? Oh, WAME is white, Anglo, musty Europeans. WAME. What if I said, I found out through my studies, through these scientists, that the WAME community are more likely to smell like wet dogs, bathe once a week, have rhesus monkey blood and Neanderthal genes, and impregnate their cousins. What if I come out with that? Everyone would find that offensive, yeah? But yet they're going to come out and say, oh, BAME or more, and then bring out this foolishness, this lie of affinity, and get people and try and pull on people's heartstrings. This is violence, family. You got to understand, like Neely Fuller says, this is indirect violence, this sort of foolishness. Indirect violence. BAME. What the hell is BAME? Yeah? And let's just see if what they're saying is true. Because they're talking about the vaccine doesn't cause harm and all that sort of stuff. That was 2020. What have we now found out since then? Yeah, that was 2020. What have we now found out since then? And everyone's laughing about Wayne. Yeah, Wayne, white, Anglo, musty Europeans. Wayne, you get me? So what have we found out about the vaccine since then? Myocarditis and COVID vaccines. So since then, we've now found out, and look where I'm getting my information from. British Heart Foundation, fam. They found that there was links between the COVID-19 vaccines and myocarditis. In other words, heart attacks and heart scarring and all this sort of stuff. Yeah. And here's another one. COVID-19 mRNA vaccine linked to myocardial scarring in adolescents and young adults. Adolescents, fam. Children. This is why misinformation and confusion is so damaging, because it leads to pain. It leads to harm. Yeah. AstraZeneca, wherever that word says, formally admits that the COVID-19 vaccine can cause rare side effects. And it's not rare. By the way, it's not rare. Again, this is the usual suspects with their language. It's not rare. It causes side effects. Simple as that. Yeah. And then this one, COVID causes lasting damage to cognition and memory, research finds. Yeah. All right, then. So now we understand how important it is to know the truth. And it's so important for us to know who we're dealing with. And by the way, even though I showed that video and I was making fun of the people in that video, I don't blame them. And that's what Neely Fuller says in his book. Never blame the victims of this system that we live in. Always blame the usual suspects. So when I see an advert like that, I'm not like, oh, look at us, fool. No, it's not that. I'm just like, rah, you got bit. Unfortunately, you've been bitten by the usual suspects. So you always point the finger at the usual suspects. You never point the finger at each other. We love to do that. Oh, black people are this and black people are that. And no, the usual suspects. Always point the finger at the usual suspects. It's always them. Yeah. And again, and I like to use analogies and all that sort of stuff. I know Brother Andrew's going to break it down. And I know this might be a little bit of a spoiler, but if you haven't watched the film Sinners, you need to understand that film. That film kind of breaks down this book and who to look out for. The usual suspects are all in this movie. Yeah. And for those of you who have seen the movie, you know this is a very powerful clip. And again, this is a bit of a spoiler alert. So if you haven't watched the movie, switch off now for like 30 seconds. Yeah. But in the movie, the guy who was guarding the juke joint, his name was, what was his name? Someone tell me quickly. What's the name of the guy who was guarding the juke joint? Who was the security outside? Cornbread. Yeah. And this is just a baby AI version of that clip. Cornbread goes outside. Yeah. And gets bitten by the vampire. Then when he comes back inside now, before he comes back in, one, he asks to come back in, which was kind of strange. And then the people who are inside the juke joint start to ask him questions. Because remember, that's what Neely Fuller says. You don't believe anything anyone says. You ask questions. Yeah. Even if it's one of your own, you ask them questions. So look at this clip and notice what they do. They ask him questions because even though, yeah, you're one of us, there's something not right about you now. There's something not right. So let me ask you questions. Listen to the questions.
Just step aside and let me on in now.
Why you need him to do that? You big and strong enough to push past us?
Well, that wouldn't be too polite now, would it, Miss Annie? I don't know why I'm talking to you anyway. Smoke.
Don't talk to him. You're talking to me right now. Why you can't just walk your big up in here without an invite, huh? Go ahead. Admit to it.
Admit to what?
That you dead.
So you listening to this? Now we out here playing games, telling ghost stories in place of doing what we ought to do.
Now, what is it we supposed to be doing?
Being kind to one another. And being polite.
Now that part, again, for the people that have watched the movie, you know that part was absolutely sick. When he says, just let me in so we can do what we're supposed to be doing. In other words, agenda. And then how did they respond? They said, what are we supposed to be doing? In other words, what's our agenda? If you go back to the beginning of my presentation, they follow two rules of thumb. The two rules of thumb are they always have an agenda. It's never what they say it is. So they always have an agenda. He says, well, let me come in so we can continue with our agenda. The brother says, what's our agenda? And he says, being kind to one another, you know? And they were like, that's not our agenda. You're not coming in here. Yeah. Two rules of thumb. They always have an agenda. It's never what they say it is. All right. Hope everyone understands that. Okay. Now, I don't even know if I should show this, but this kind of breaks down their agenda. It's very rare where you can catch the usual suspect telling us what their agenda is. Listen to this.
The best way to convince a parent to get a vaccine is to have an outbreak. And so that's it. Fear sells. Sadly, people are compelled much more by fear than reason. What's the best way to convince a parent to get a vaccine is to have an outbreak.
Create a whole new set of laws and ignore the existing human rights laws and other laws under the pretext of pandemic preparedness and the biosecurity agenda. The WHO is developing through all its nations, but with the WHO director and the United States in charge, a pandemic treaty and amendments to the existing international health regulations that will remove the human rights protections currently embedded in the IHRs, will enforce surveillance, censorship, get rid of freedom of speech, require governments to censor and only push a single narrative. Also, we will be subject, if they can make this work, to vaccines developed in 100 days, which the organization CEPI is planning to do. And one of the people who founded CEPI was Jeremy Farrar, who is now the chief scientist at the WHO, to bring this forward. Other things that amendments do is to bind the states so they're no longer recommendations but enforceable edicts. Provide a liability shield, get rid of intellectual property rights, move supplies from one country to another, enforce digital passports.
All right, so it's very rare where you hear them tell you what their agenda is, but there you go. Yeah, and I know I'm running out of time, but what's very interesting is you don't usually hear that. That's why, again, the two rules of thumb is they always have an agenda. They never tell us. It's never what they say it is. Yeah, because one of their things when it comes on to the lies that they put out there is they die with the lie. They usually die with the lie or they just admit the lie on their deathbed. And I got this from a movie, a Will Smith movie called, what's it called? Focus. Listen to this.
Whoa. Here, just let him go.
Give me one reason why I shouldn't do it.
I'm drawing a blank.
What?
I think you should shoot me. You'd really be doing me a favor. Cancer. Tumor the size of a peach.
He's on to us.
Oh, you guys suck.
Just give us the money.
Or what?
Or he's gonna shoot you in the neck.
I want to shoot a guy with cancer? Grandma Mikulski has cancer.
He doesn't have cancer, you idiot.
You guys really bone this thing. First of all, you gotta wait till she gets my pants off. And then you gotta give me a chance to run. That's how you get the money. And you never drop the con. You never break. Die with the lie.
Die with the lie. That is a usual suspect motto. Die with the lie. Don't tell people the truth. Don't tell people the truth about 9/11, that there were no planes. Don't tell people the truth about that. Don't tell people the truth about 1969, that they didn't go to the moon. Don't ever tell people the truth about that. You die with the lie. Yeah? All right. Now, with that being said, again, I'm running out of time, so I'm going to have to go through this pretty quickly. But I want to kill off 3 false narratives. I want these to die today. The 3 false narratives that I want to die, that I want to kill off today are 1, ethnic minorities. That narrative has to die today, family. 2, black on black crime. That narrative has to die today. And number 3 is the more likely to narrative. So let's go through the first one, ethnic minorities. Listen to this.
That man call us a minority. There's a billion black people, there's a billion white people. What's minor about that? I'm major, bro. I ain't taking nothing minor.
Bang! Boom, bang! I ain't taking nothing minor at all.
What percent of the world's population is white?
60%?
55.
40, 30? 40%? 30, 40. 35%?
32.
35%? 50? 30%?
17.
17.
And for the people who missed it, they asked, what percentage of the world's population is white? What percentage of the world's population is white?
What percent of the world's population is white?
60%?
55.
40, 30? 40%? 30, 40. 35%?
32.
35%?
60.
50? 30?
55.
17.
30.
25 to 30%.
7? I don't even know.
She was actually right.
What?
7%.
There you go.
7 to 12%, but 7 is the most recent estimate.
What is it, 8 or 9%?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Isn't
it like 10% or something like that?
Well, yeah, 7 to 12%. Nice. You're one of the few to actually get it right. Well done, bro.
60%. Come on, guys. We are, if people don't know, white people are a minority. It might seem like we're everywhere when you're in a white country, but if you ever leave these countries, you'll see how few of us there are. To give you a perspective, there are more Indians than all white people.
All right, so die with that lie. That's dead now. That narrative is dead. Ethnic minorities, that's dead. You're not a minority. You are the majority. So I don't want to hear that from no black person from here on out. That narrative is dead. There's no ethnic minorities. Yeah, dead. All right, here's another one. Here's the next one. Black on black crime. Now, for those of you who follow me, if you can go to the Hidden Sites Academy YouTube channel and just find the video of the truth about London knife crime and just post that in the chat. I prove in that video that the rise in knife crime from 2011 was due to the usual suspects. The usual suspects. Not black on black crime, not young black youth. The rise in knife crime was due to the usual suspects. Watch that video if you don't believe me. And because I'm running out of time, I can't show you this, but I do want to show you this. Can anyone tell me what area in the UK has the largest percentage of knife crime? The most violent area in the UK with regards to knife crime? Liverpool, no. Yeah, what city? Thank you, Marcia. It is Scotland. Scotland. And not only in the UK, family. So Scotland hold the record for violent knife crime amongst youth, yeah? In the whole of the UK. Not just the whole of the UK, the whole of Europe since about 2016. Did you know this, family? The whole of Europe, yeah? And I was going to show you a clip of, Piers Morgan talking about black on black crime, black on black crime, black on black crime, black on black crime, and red tear, and then just show you that these brothers know the truth. So I was going to show you that video, but you guys have probably seen it as well. He loves to talk about, young black youth and black on black crime and all that. That's the reason why Piers Morgan, Akala had to appear on there and put him straight. But this is him telling the truth. Listen to this.
In Glasgow, between 2010 and 2017, they had the highest rate of knife crime in Europe.
Wait, 2010?
Almost predominantly
Hold
white.
on a second. So not even from 2016, from 2010 up until today, family. That's what, 15 years? From 2010 up until today, Scotland leads the way with knife crime. Listen.
In Glasgow, between 2010 and 2017, they had the highest rate of knife crime in Europe. Almost predominantly white. How do you explain that?
This is not an ethnic issue.
Oh, it's not
an issue about fathers across the ethnic spectrum not caring about their children.
All right, whatever. So that narrative dies today as well. Black on black crime. What do you talk about? Black on black crime? Are you crazy? Do you know who the real do you know who commits the most crime in the UK? All right, so the black on black crime, dead. That narrative, dead. Ethnic minorities, dead. Black on black crime, dead. Yeah. Last one. The black people are more likely to narrative. That one's dying today as well. And you hear this all the time. For those of you who are not familiar with this narrative, here you go. NHS Choices on their website, they've got a section just for us called Black Health Issues. According to the NHS, if you're African or African Caribbean and you live in the UK, you're more likely than people from other cultures to have certain health conditions, including high blood pressure, diabetes, and prostate cancer. When you ask the experts why are black people more likely to suffer from these things, the experts do this. I plead the fifth, right? That's what the experts do. All right, so let me show you the more likely to narrative. According to the NHS, 1 in 4 black men will get prostate cancer. Will, not might, will get prostate cancer. 1 in 4. And notice the pattern. According to this, this was 5 years ago, black people in the UK are 4 times more likely to die from COVID-19 than white people. Ask the experts why. They plead the fifth. I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth. I plead the fifth. All right, according to ITV News, black people are 4 times more likely to be detained under the Mental Health Act than white people. Ask the experts why. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. They plead the fifth, yeah? According to The Guardian, black people are 4 times as likely as white people to be murdered. Why? And according to the BBC News, black women were 4 times more likely to die in childbirth. Remember that? When they were saying black women were 4 times more likely to die in childbirth. So this black people are more likely to narrative needs to stop. Yeah, it needs to stop, because if you guys knew the truth that white people are actually more likely to die from diseases than black people, you'll be like, wow, why do they run with this narrative? Why do they run with this narrative? Now, again, those of you who know me, I like to break down science and use analogies. So let me give you this analogy. Yeah, because remember, I'm a scientist. I'm an authority. What if my scientific experiments found out that the WAME community, remember them? My scientific study found out that the WAME community are 4 times more likely to get licked down by a bus when they're crossing the road. It's the study, it's the scientific study. My scientific study found out that the WAME community are 4 times more likely to get licked down by a bus. If I said that to you, family, just using logic and evidence, you know from me saying that only one of 2 things can be true. Only one of 2 things. Either I'm lying and the WAME community are not more likely to get licked down by a bus when they're crossing the road. Remember, only one of 2 things can be true. Either I'm lying, and you got to think to yourself, why would I lie? Why would I put that lie out there? Well, because I'm an authority. If you start to believe me, guess what? You could actually make my lie true. If you're part of the WAME community and you're going across the road, all of a sudden you've got anxiety and a bit of fear when you're crossing the road, 2 twos, you might actually get licked down by a bus because you're there believing what I'm saying. So that's maybe one of the reasons why they put out that lie, that black people are more likely to, yeah? So again, when I say the WAME community are 4 times more likely to get licked down by a bus, only one of 2 things can be true. Either I'm lying or I'm driving. Either I'm lying or I'm the driver. I'm driving. Yeah? That's the only way it can be true. So again, the more likely to narrative dies today. Dead. I don't want to hear the more likely to narrative again. Yeah? Science is simple. It's just that you've been taught it in a confusing way. And there's only one of 2 reasons why. Either the person teaching you science doesn't understand the subject well enough, or they do, they just don't want you to understand it. I'm gonna let you put 2 and 2 together on that one. My name's Leo Marshall, and that concludes the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Come on, brothers and sisters. Tonight was a special edition with the scientist himself. Drop the ones. I didn't want to come in on this one, brothers and sisters. I said, let the brother finish. Let the brother finish. If drop the ones, let me know. Let me know, because eyes were wide shut on that one, beloved. You had to open your eyes on that one, beloved. The scientist has spoken. Drop the ones if you're feeling it. Drop the ones. Wow, Leon.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely phenomenal, amazing, crazy. I want to talk to my team in the background. Have you been putting down? Oh, Leon, is there a website for you still? Because I know the madness that you have to go through, brother.
Yeah, the usual suspects took down my website. That's just how it goes. I do have some events. If my sister Vanika can post the links to my events coming up, we do have events, but we're not using the website. We do have the website. I've got an event entitled. Sorry,
carry on, brother. Carry on, brother.
I've got an event. Let me just quickly share this just so the family can see it. I've got an event entitled Melanin Money Masterclass. This is going to be big, family. The Melanin Money Masterclass. This is Saturday, the 12th of July at CSEP, Croydon Supplementary Education Project. Unlock the magnetic power of your melanin to attract wealth. In other words, you are the bag, family. You don't need to chase the bag. You are the bag. And I'm going to prove it during this masterclass, the Melanin Money Masterclass. We do have other events. If you want to stay in contact with me, this is my Instagram, Leo Marshall. My Instagram is Leo Marshall Online. And my sister's posting links to our WhatsApp group if you want to stay in contact with us. And we've got events coming up all throughout the next couple of months. So yeah, keep in touch with us so you can make sure that you know when we're doing events. But that event, Melanin Money Masterclass, is Saturday, the 12th of July. Hopefully my team are posting it in the chat so you guys can sign up to that one now. And brother, as always, I appreciate you giving me the space. And thank you. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer any questions. But as always, truly appreciate the platform, family. Truly appreciate you, brother. And yeah, we've got some stuff coming up that I'm not even going to mention yet. Me and the Hidden Science Academy and Hidden Truth are going to be linking up again very, very soon. And family is going to be blowing, but I'm not saying anything.
It's going to be crazy.
The craziest.
I'm not saying anything yet, brother.
Not saying anything yet.
Until